Hey, welcome back to Five Lakes Garage, and today we're going to be upgrading our air system. Alright, so if you've been a fan of the channel for a long time, you know that I built this thing years ago and wanted to put it into the Wagoneer. Actually, originally I wanted to put it on Tacoma, but the frame rail was not big enough to put an air tank. And then I was like, okay, well, let me put it in the CJ. Well, no, I don't have a lot of space. The Wagoneer, no, I didn't have enough time, actually, for that one, because it was broken. Now it's fixed, but I still like to have it on a piece of plywood, only because I can stick it in the back of the truck, hook up some wires, and we're good to go. I can use it for there. I can use it on the Wagoneer, and I also can bring it onto the Jeep. It is relatively small, and since it is on plywood, it is portable. Not only that, I can stick it on the wall when I don't need it. So, love the system. It's got a 2.5 gallon tank, so I can run air tools if I really want to, impacts, drills, whatever. My only big issue with it is that it takes so long to fill. So what we're gonna do today is upgrade it. I got myself a second pump. Now, there's going to be some wiring involved to be able to hook this up properly and also trigger it and run power all the way to the front. Now, a couple things that we're going to have to change would be the power feed all the way from the front from the battery. Right now, I think it's like maybe a 12 gauge wire, maybe a 14. I don't think it's 14. I think it might be 12. Anyway, not enough. This pump here runs about 23 amps. That pump runs about 23 amps. All right, so that is the maximum amperage. So if we put a 10 gauge wire all the way in the front, which I have some in my spools over there, then we should be in pretty good shape. Put a 40 amp fuse in there and it should be okay, because it's only going to jump to that, but then go to the a lesser one, in which we can measure that a little bit later if we want to. Anyway, so we're just going to go ahead and mount this guy up here, and we're going to have to wire it. Now, wiring it is going to be interesting. All right, so we're going to put some relays on this thing, because we don't want this one little relay that's on the machine itself to be able to power both pumps, because then it's just going to burn out. So we're going to put two relays in there. They are 40 amp each. Should be plenty. I'm going to show you how to wire those up and only have it triggered by the one relay that we have on the pressure regulator. So anyway, let's dig right in, because I'm pretty sure you're getting tired of me talking. So first thing to do is take this and completely tear it down, get rid of all the tie wraps, all the wiring, because we're going to be wiring it from scratch. So let's get on it. All right, in case you're wondering what exactly I'm doing, well, here's an update. Got rid of all the tie wraps and stuff like that. The only thing I have left would be the trigger, which is the on and off, which will turn this thing on and off. So we also have power coming in. Now this is going to actually activate the relay that's going to be in here. We're going to tie that off and go to two new relays that I'm going to actually just attach right here to the board. That's why I love putting it on a piece of plywood. Now, the other thing I did was take the connection off the back, which actually is my gauge, to figure out exactly how much pressure I still have in it, because I needed another input. Because this pump here is going to be connected into the back, which will be filling up the tank. Now, I put it up here, but I grabbed a T out of the miscellaneous bucket, you know, that guy, and which works out great, because half of it is my emergency relief valve. You gotta have this. Please do not just remove this. That is a safety feature. If that is not in there, and some reason while this trigger is not working properly, sorry I keep bouncing the table and shaking the camera, but then you got a bomb. We don't want a bomb. We want to be able to be all right. So anyway, all right, so the next thing would be just to mount the other compressor, and I will connect it up to the tank. Don't forget your Teflon tape, because we don't want any leaks. So anyway, we should be in good shape. Hook that up, mount it. Bob's your uncle. Let's start wiring. Yep, that's right. All right, that was a pain in the butt, but now both motors are actually attached and mounted. They're not going to go anywhere. That's right. Oh, actually, it's a good time to bring up our sponsor for today's video. Me. Yeah. Five Lakes Garage actually sponsored this, because I really wanted another compressor on this guy for a long time, and nobody would send me one, so I bought it myself. So anyway, so what we're gonna do now is actually mount the my goodness, mount the relays. And hopefully you know how a relay works. Now this one right here, so anyway, the only ones you oh my gosh, what is with me today? The only ones that you really have to worry about would be the 4 outer pins. Now most relays only have 4 pins, but this one has 5 because that's what I buy. I buy them in bulk. Buy them a dozen at a time for projects like this. I always have them available, which these are my last 2. Got to get some more. If you want to send me some, there's a P.O. box.
Oh, hello there. Thanks for watching. And if you really like it, go ahead and hit subscribe. If you really like it, go ahead and hit the like button. And go ahead and comment because I want to hear what you have to say. Could be good, could be bad. I don't know. Let me know. And if you really want to send anything to the channel, help us out, whichever, here's a P.O. box that we opened up in case you want to send something. I'll do a video and see what it is. Have fun. Enjoy the rest of the show.
So the way this guy actually works, you have the main power feed comes in from 30. You want to connect your fan, or in this case a pump, to 87. Now the 2 on the outer side, 85 and 86, are the ones that one is ground, which would be 86 is ground, 85 will go in for your trigger. Now the 85 will be connected to our regulator up here, and then that will turn off in this relay, which will turn on one of the pumps. And then I'll plug the second one the same way, and it'll turn on the other pump, so that all of the main power will go through the relay. Now the main reason why you use a relay is very simple. You don't want to have a regular on and off switch, toggle switch or whatever, running 40 amps. That's crazy. So you go small gauge wire, small fuses, small amperage, whatever, to these guys, and then these actually take the brunt. So I'm going to drill these guys in there, and then we're going to start wiring up, and then we're going to show you how to do it. But I'm going to put you on time lapse again because I got to turn the fan on because it is hot as blazes today. Oh my gosh. In the next few days, it's supposed to get even worse. Over in triple digits. Yay! Welcome to North Carolina. Okay, so we're now crimping some wires, and figured I'll stop for a second and actually show you a couple of things. One of them being strippers. Get yourself some good strippers. These things are awesome. Stick your wire in there, squeeze it, boom. Bob's your uncle. It is done. That's been my phrase here lately. Bob's your uncle. Anyway, so what I have here are the cheapy deepy, get anywhere little dinky connectors. Now, the inside I believe is pretty good. The outside plastic stuff, it's okay. Not the biggest fan. I cut them off. And the reason why is that I like to have it, where's the camera? To actually crimp it real tight, real close. And then I'm gonna put some heat shrink on it. So I got a whole bucket of heat shrink, these little guys here. I'm gonna wrap this over there, heat it, and then it's going to shrink, heat, shrink. There you go. As far as crimping this guy here, as you can probably see, hopefully, if that will focus, is that it is actually curled in. And the way I do that is with the proper crimper. As you can see inside, it has the curve in there. These actually came from my father. This thing's got some age on him. He was an electrician in the Navy, so it's definitely been used. Now, butt connectors. They also have these type of connectors in this form. Now, this right here is actually waterproof. They are, they already have the heat shrink on them, and they are fantastic. It even has glue in there to keep it from coming apart. Now, you do not want to use crimpers like this on those butt connectors. What you want to do is get yourself a decent pair of ratcheting crimpers. Now these guys right here are specifically made and designed for those type of connectors. Because if you look real close into the jaws of it, they're nice and wide. There's no sharp edges or anything like that. If you use one of these, or even using the crimp sections down here, they will actually cut into the heat shrink, and then you're not waterproof anymore. So go ahead and use the right crimpers. Hit them with a torch, hit them with a lighter, hit them with whatever, and you should be good to go. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and cut off the blue little piece of garbage there and crimp on the next one, because these are going to be my trigger wires to trigger my relays. But I need to put some heat shrink on there, and I need to get the fan back on. Hey, you know how when sometimes you get into a project and you just got to step away and really think about it? Maybe I should have done this initially, because then I would have had all the good parts and it would have been a lot safer. Yeah, I said earlier that I was gonna upgrade the 12 gauge wire to 10 gauge wire so I can run both pumps. The more I did the math, the more I'm like, that's not enough. 10 gauge is, I mean, you can get 40 amps maybe, yeah, it should be fine. But if both of them are at 23 amps, and I looked up the details, it might jump to 23 amps, but then it doesn't go down much lower after that. So we're still looking at about 40 amps worth of running current that needs to be going through here. So I kind of want to leave a little bit of extra. So what I did was go out and got some 6 gauge wire, and I'm going to run 6 gauge all the way to the front. While I was there, of course, you're going to need it fused. So instead of using my, I have a 10 gauge inline fuse little kit that was left over from another project. Yeah, not going to be good enough. So what we're going to do is take the 12 gauge that's out, put the 6 in, and I actually picked up a fuse that is actually, well, it's a 50 amp inline fuse. So I'm going to put that in there to try to protect it. Also, in this particular setup, this is what I kind of came up with the first time, which is 10 gauge, and then I split it off to run power to the regulator, and then broke it off into 2 10 gauges. Well, actually one's a 10, one's a 12, looks like, to run the actual relays. So, ditching that in lieu of 6 gauge. So, the type of crimpers that I'm using for the bigger stuff, I'm also using, where's that? There you go. I'm using these guys here. Now, these are for like forklifts, and it should be able to be easy enough to unplug and plug and that type of stuff while it's in the truck. Because I'm not going to leave this thing in here all the time, and I don't want to have like wires hanging out, because these guys actually have little covers, which is awesome. So anyway, so I crimped that in there. Now when you're working with 6 gauge, these crimpers not going to work. These crimpers probably not going to work. Even using a pair of side cutters, and I started using that. If you look here at the bottom, there is a giant crimper right there. Instead, I'm using this guy. I picked this up a long time ago, not too long ago, but anyway, I got this hydraulic crimper, and it comes with different dies for different sizes. Now, number 16 on this one is for 6 gauge wire. So, kind of looks like that. But anyway, she's up there, she's not going anywhere. So what I'm gonna do is actually put my heat shrink on there. Now this is a 3-to-1. Yep, 3-to-1, and it also has glue in it. All right, highly recommend do not touch that until it cools off. But anyway, I got this side to go into my connector here. And then once I get that in there, I should be able to button it all up, test it, and I wanna time it and see how long it takes to actually fill this 2.5 gallon tank up with 2 compressors. And then we need to get the boat out of here, get the truck in here, start wiring that guy up, because like I said, we need 6 gauge wire all the way to the back with a fuse. Don't forget the fuse. All right, all the wiring is done. This is what we did, and hopefully there's some tips and tricks in here to help you along your journey on actually wiring something like this up. Also, if you see something that I did wrong, please let me know. Put a comment in there. I gotta know. I don't want my truck to burn down. That's why we have a fuse in it, in case I messed up anywhere. But anyway, this is what we got. All right, so got a 6 gauge wire coming off the battery. And I got it snaked up here. I got it away from everything. If you think it's going to touch something, put a tie wrap on it. It's a lot better. Well, it's if it moves in the same plane, it doesn't rub. But if it moves this way, you're gonna rub and then go through the sheeting, and then you're gonna ground out. Don't want to have that. So we have our 50 amp fuse, which I do not have in there at this particular moment, mostly because I was still wired. But I'll put that here in a second, and we can test it from there. So it kind of comes up here, and it goes across on top of the original wiring harness. Then it comes up over here and then goes down along the frame rail. So let's go underneath and show you exactly how we ran it. So we have it up here, and it's up out of the way. I went ahead and tie wrapped it up to the existing wiring that was already in the truck. Now up here by the catalytic converter, I actually rolled it on top, and the wire that actually has a heat shield on it, hopefully we'll be able to protect our wire. And then it kind of comes down. Like I said, anything that it was going to rub against or heat against or whatever. Try to keep it away as much as possible. So it kind of comes up here, goes on top of the frame rail, and I had just drilled a hole through the bed brace right here, just so I could put a tie wrap. And then I have another tie wrap, and then I put 2 grommets. This is the little tub that's in the bed. You got a grommet there and a grommet there. You don't want to, even though it is plastic, you don't want to have it rub against it, because then it will rub to the sheeting. And then you'll be doing this all over again. All right, that brings us back to the rear. All right, I got my pump, got my relays, got my chuck, emergency valve, drain, 2 pumps, and my forklift connector. Now, in my little cubby, there we go. I went ahead and put the other end of the forklift connector on here. And I have to say, 6 gauge wire is the max you want to put on these. If you want to go any higher, you got to get the bigger connectors. But this should be just fine for what we're doing here. So I got my connector, and we're just going to connect these 2 together. No work. Flip it. All right, make sure she clicks. There you go. Now we're in good shape. No rubbing. Now, let's go put a fuse in it and see if she'll actually turn on. All right, got my fuse in. Now let's time how long is it going to take to fill this 2.5 gallons up to 150 psi. Ready, set. Two minutes and roughly 10 seconds. I was a little slow on the jump there, but the thing worked perfectly, exactly how we wanted it. The regulator up here sent a signal down to the relays that we have down there and shut off both compressors, because this one I think is rated at 150, maybe 200, whatever, but that one's rated a little bit higher. All right, hope you guys learned a little something on that one. Hope you enjoyed it at least a little bit. I do like having onboard air when I go out and fill up these tires. With 1 pump, it was taking forever. Now that I have 2 pumps, I can get 150 psi in with it, about 2 minutes of actual pump time. Hopefully this coming out week, we will be able to take it down to the beach, deflate them, air them back up, see how it works. Couple little tips though, when you go to like anywhere like Harbor Freight or something like that, they sell these little kits. Like this is a grommet kit. That's what I use for down here at the bottom. I just keep them on hand. I am missing quite a few because I've been using them, so I might have to get a new kit in order to replenish the stock. So anyway, as you notice, I didn't use any electrical tape. All I used was heat shrink, connectors, crimpers, whatever. So anyway, if you see anything that I did wrong, please comment down below. Let us all know exactly what we did wrong so that we can actually fix it and nobody else is actually going to relive that mistake. Oh yeah, one more thing. Since I have this little connector right here, I could put a small winch back here, like on the tailgate or on the tow hitch, plug it in right there, and I got full power. Yeah, that's the reason why I did it. It's only 6 gauge wire, but it should be adequate for a winch. Maybe not too big, but for a winch. But anyway, you got multiple uses for the single thing. But anyway, talk too much. You guys have fun. We'll talk to you later. Peace. Krampus.